1050. Page 1050. So the Torah says like this. Now, we spoke about yesterday about sending away the mother bird. And now the Torah says, the next section, please close that door, sweetie. Shaya, close the door. Thank you. So the Torah says like this. Kisivne bayis chodosh. When you build a new house, v'osisa ma'ake legagecha. You make a fence or a railing for your roof. V'losasim damim b'veisecha. There's not going to be blood in your house. Ki yipol hanofel b'meno. When the faller falls off. Now here, we're talking about a halacha. That means if you have a roof that's a usable roof, that means you have everybody see page 1050, right in the middle of the page. If you build a house and you have a roof, so when you have first of all, the Torah says, why would you be building a house right now? So Rashi says, well, what did you just do in the previous pasuk? You sent away the mother bird. That means you let the mother bird free to go build another nest. The mother bird is going to build another house. HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays back, Mida keneged Mida. You allowed the bird, you fulfilled the mitzvah to allow the mother, instead of taking the mother bird, you fulfilled the mitzvah which allows the mother bird to go and build another house. Therefore, you will merit to build a new house. You'll merit to have a new house. When you build the house, then the halacha is if you have a roof that's a usable roof, which in the old days they did, the time of the Gemara, that's where they built their sukkah. Do you know that? The Gemara said at the time they had flat roofs and it was on the roof that they built their sukkah. Now, if you have like one of these roofs, what do you call it? That's not ideal for a sukkah. Not ideal at all. But if you have a flat roof, or if you have a porch or a balcony or anything else that's usable, you have a halachic obligation to put up what's called a ma'akeh. Ma'akeh, in modern Hebrew also, is called a fence or a railing, and you have to put it around the porch. Now, what's interesting is, there are two things over here. First of all, why? Okay, we understand that this follows the previous pasuk, because you got the reward, you get to build a house. But there's also another issue over here, that the previous pasuk said that if you fulfill the mitzvah, look at the last line, it says, Shaleach teshalach esa'im, send away the mother bird, V'esabonim tikach loch, and you'll take the children, L'man yitav loch ve'arachta yamim. You'll benefit and you'll live long. So a person says, well, look, I fulfilled the mitzvah of sending away the mother bird. I'm guaranteed long life. Therefore, I could live recklessly. And now you've got a roof and you decide not to put up a railing. The Torah is teaching you, no, that doesn't work that way. The Torah promises you long life. From anything, that doesn't give you license to become irresponsible. And therefore, a person, even here, we're coming up to Rosh Hashanah. So we know that there's a judgment on Rosh Hashanah. So a person says, listen, I'm supposed to live. Yeah, no. So if I'm supposed to live, I'll live. So then the person could go running around crossing train tracks, and he could, He could go skydiving without a parachute, or with a parachute, or he could do all these reckless, dangerous. No, the Torah says you still got to behave responsibly. And when you behave responsibly, then you'll live long. And therefore, part of responsible behavior is that you go and you build a railing around your house. Okay. Now, let's go further. One other point here. According to the Mefarshim, Kisivne Bayis Chodesh is talking about a person who is striving to grow in his Yiddishkeit. And when you build a new house means you are creating a new level for yourself, which is what we're meant to be doing our entire life. Everybody, there are two types of Jews in the world. What are the two types of Jews? Don't tell me Ashkenazi and Sephardi. Litvaks and Hasidim, right? Male and female. All right, what are the two types of Jews? There are two types of Jews. They're religious, what you call religious and non-religious, we call Jews who are growing and Jews who are stagnating. You can be a religious Jew and you can be stagnating. And you can be a religious Jew who's growing. The goal of life is growth. The goal of life is to constantly grow. Religion is not a destination. Religion is a journey. What a profound line. It's not my own, right? But it's not a destination. Yeah, okay, I made it. I'm from. And now we speak Aramaic and we're good to go. No, religion is a journey. Everybody's on the same train. And whatever our level is, we have to constantly grow, constantly improve. Constant effort to improve. So the Torah comes along and says over here, Kisivna bayis chodesh, when you build a new home, that means you're striving for a new level. Vasisa makil legagecha, and you make a fence. That's part of our life. We have rabbinic fences. Shaya, make it a little colder, please. Shaya, what? Oh, yeah. Shaya, what happened? Thanks, Joel. Shai, just don't throw anything at me. That's all. What do you call it? So you're striving to make a new. Now there are different fences. We were just talking today in the Gemara about rabbinic fences. So the rabbis have instituted non-negotiable fences for us. But what about the rest of us? What about it? Each person has to make fences in his own life. If you know you have a weakness in a certain area, you have friends who are a negative influence, try to make a fence. Try to stay away from them. If you're anywhere near booze, you take a beating. So stay away from the booze. Whatever it is that a person has a weakness, we create our own fences in life. You have to know where your what do you call it is. I never have a cell phone. I told you guys I never had a cell phone, not a flip phone, not a regular phone, smartphone, dumb phone. I've never owned a phone. Because I knew that if I ever did own a phone, it would dominate my life. It was an all or nothing proposition. It's all or nothing. It's the same thing with cocaine, right? It was an all or nothing proposition. So I never got involved. But at the end of the day, you have to know where there's a fence. Where's the fence? Where's my fence? However, you have to be careful. Because then it says, make a makeh v'lo sosim damim b'veisecha. But don't cause that there should be blood spilled in your home. That means sometimes the fence could work against you. I'm going to tell you a very important point here. Ki yipol hanofel mimena, you fall as a result of your fence. How can you fall as a result of the fence? You fall as a result of the fence. That means sometimes if a person takes on, if we restrict ourselves too much, so a person then eventually you just burst out. That's why parents are always told, don't be too tough on your kids. You can't say no to everything, because if you say no to everything, the kids are just going one day they're going to break out of the box. You have to make there's got to be a certain amount of elasticity over here, because you can't. Nobody can survive. Very few people can survive if it's too tight. Put somebody in a straitjacket, and then they're going to try to break out of it. So, for example, let's say a guy decides, listen, I spent my life, I've unfortunately eaten non-kosher meat. You know what? I'm about tshuva, and I really would like to atone for that. I'm not going to eat red meat. He decides to make a fence. I'm not going to eat red meat. You know what happens? He may become clinically depressed as a result. He may walk around upset. You know, he's watching people eating meat, and he's at a Shabbos table. If it's not clinically depressed, he'll get down, low. Nowadays, whatever they call it, you don't have to be clinically depressed that you're diagnosed clinically depressed. So I mean, depressed means you're going to be low. You're not going to be upbeat and cheerful and energized in your avodas Hashem. That means you've put too much of a limitation on yourself. Who told you to do that? Who told you to put such a strict limitation on yourself? You need to make a fence. You need to make safeguards. That's terrific. But just make sure that the safeguard isn't something that's going to cause this person to fall off his own roof. And we've seen it happens all the time. A person is not only that, we pressurize ourselves, and move it just a little bit. We pressure ourselves in life. Sometimes I've decided I've got to do something. And I've got to get, and I ask, why am I putting myself under pressure over here? It's not that I don't have to get this done. I decided today I want to get a certain amount of things done in the house. I want to mow the lawn, and I want to fix the cabinets, and I want to do that. I decided, and I'm feeling pressure. Who told you have to do them? Why did you put yourself under that kind of stress and strain? And the same thing when it comes to religion. Same thing when it comes to halacha. That's what the Torah, that's what the Mefarshim say it's alluding to here. Okay, let's go on. Take a look at Pasuk Yud Gimel. Now we're going to get to very, very much our subject matter in the Gemara and Kiddushin. And here we're going to have a little bit of strife with a husband and a wife. A man gets married, bottom of page 1050. He marries this wife and he hates her. So Rashi says over here, if you take a look at Rashi, and then the next line is going to be, he's going to spread rumors about her. We're going to read it inside in a second, but just look what Rashi says over here. Rashi says on Pasuk Yud Gimel, it's the left column, 3 lines from the bottom. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Uba'aleha usne'a, and he's going to end up hating her. In the end, he hates her. Look at the next pasuk. V'samla alilos devarim. He goes and he spreads a rumor. He makes a false accusation. V'hotzi aleh shem ra. He spreads a negative report about her. Ve'amar es ha'isha hazeh lakachti ve'ekra ve'lev lo matzasi lo besulek. I married this woman, and I found she's not a virgin. He's accusing her of, after the period of betrothal, she must have committed adultery, which we just spoke about today, which is absolute adultery. And he says he married her, and he found out that she wasn't a virgin, and therefore she must have actually done something which is the status of a married woman. Rashi, if you look at Rashi on the previous page, right at the bottom, V'samla alilos devarim. Says Rashi, Aveira goreres Aveira. One Aveira causes another Aveira. What was the first Aveira? Avara lo sisna. He transgressed the prohibition of hating. Sofo lovo lidei lashon hara. Then it's going to lead him to do lashon hara. It's going to spread these nasty rumors about his life, nasty accusation. So you got a problem here. And this goes right to the Gemara that we're learning. He married her and he hated her. Well, I mean, what's it the husband's fault if he got married and then he finds out after he got married he doesn't like her? The answer is we learned it in the Gemara. That's why he has to what? He has to see her before he marries her. So he saw her before he married her. And you accepted her as she is. What's my fault? But now I don't like her. You know, Torah is telling you, hey, listen, what do you mean you don't like her? What do you mean you hate her? And it's in your heart? You hate her? What do you mean you hate her? You accepted her as your wife. You can't go hate her. We're humans. But what if I just don't like, well, you know, her cooking, I didn't know how she cooks, you know, and I didn't know, I certainly didn't know about her singing, you know, and I certainly didn't know about her family, and things happen, things come up. So Torah says, okay, you have an option. You know what the option is? Divorce her. Don't live with her and hate her. You can't, you don't like her, so there's an option. There's an option you can divorce her. But you can't go and just hate her. You hate her, so you got to do something about it. You can't harbor hatred in your heart, because what happens is if you harbor it in your heart, then eventually you're going to start speaking Lashon Hara. And now it's Lashon Hara, what kind of, it's a terrible accusation. So then what happens? So they bring him to Beis Din, and there are witnesses, and it turns out that they could prove that she didn't cheat, she didn't do anything wrong. So then what happens? Take a look at Pasuk Yutes. It's 8 lines from the top. We're going to go into a very interesting topic here. Ve'anshu Ohr Somayach kesef. They've proven him. They've proven that he was lying. So he has to pay 100 measures of silver, which is a lot of money. Ve'nastu la'avia anara, and they give it to the father. Ki hotzi shemra al besulas Yisrael. He spread a negative report about a Jewish maiden. V'lo siya le'isha, she shall be his wife. Lo yuchal l'shalcha kol yomav. He can't send her off. He can never divorce her. Oh, ho, 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 ho. You know, we find this elsewhere in the Torah. When a man forcibly violates a woman, he can never divorce her. So everybody always asks, you know, what's the obvious question when it comes to rape? What's the obvious question? I mean, why would she want to live with him? I mean, your husband obviously has some midos issues. Right? Why would you? The answer is she doesn't have to live with him. We're talking about what his options are, not what her options are. The Torah says over here, he's got a punishment. First of all, he has to pay the father a fine because you spread rumors, you sinned against the father. Now you're going to have to keep her. So the Meforshim asks like this: what was he trying to do? He was actually trying, if you get witnesses and she committed adultery, he's actually trying to get her killed. So why does he get off so, I mean, you know, he gets, he does, how come, well, you tried to get her killed. We find by Edim Zomimim that if you tried to do it, you get the punishment. That's it, you tried to get her killed and then you go home. Okay, didn't work, okay. So you pay a fine and marry her. What's the answer?
Being married to her is like being killed.
Worse than death. Worse than death. And you're laughing? It's a pasuk. It's a pasuk. Because the Torah says, The Gemara in Bracha says, B'ma'arava, Ma'arava is the west, is Eretz Yisrael. Stay with this, gentlemen. Oh, you're going to love this. B'ma'arava in Eretz Yisrael, ki nasi v'nishitza, when a man would get married to a woman, Amrile, they would say to him, Matzah o Motzei. Guy got married, and then they would say to the guy, Matzah or Motzei. What does Matzah or Motzei mean? Well, one pasuk says, Matzah isha matzah tov. If you found a wife, you found good. You found the ultimate good. Motzei, because there's a pasuk that says, Umotzei ani mar bimoves es isha. I find the woman worse than death. Shlomo Melech says that. Umotzei. So the guy gets married, and then they say to the guy, Matzah or Motzei? Matzah, you did well, or Motzei, you want to jump off a roof, right? Which one is it? That's what the Gemara says. Okay. There's another Gemara in Shabbos that says, Kol ra, any bad, willing to take on any suffering, Kol ra v'lo isha rav, not a bad wife. What's the question on that Gemara? Matzah or Motzei? Anybody bothered by that Gemara? Two questions on that Gemara. Yeah. Not matzah. Matzah found. Matzah. Matzah. Yeah, the guy would like to turn her into matzah, but no, matzah. Right, what's the question on the Gemara?
Different times. Matzah.
No, what's the question? What's the question? You're right, that's the answer. What's the question? There are two questions on that Gemara. Question number one, nobody ever bothered by that Gemara? Guy gets married and people say to matzah or motzei. Question number one is, what the heck is your business? Guy gets married and say, a winner or a loser? Are you gonna be happy or gonna be miserable? What the what? He married her. It doesn't say when they said it. I mean, it could be a short time after. That way you know pretty quick. If you don't know for sure, you can get a pretty good inkling. At the end of the day, what's your business? What are you asking me about? What's your business? Question number one. Question number two, bigger problem. What about Lashon Hara? Hey, buddy, what'd you find? A witch. That's Lashon Hara by anybody's. Oh no, she's a good witch. No. What about Lashon? What are you? You're asking me, and I'm telling you. What about Lashon Hara? What are you? First of all, you should be asking me. It's like, well, I can't answer you. Good question, right? So the answer goes to something what Daniel said. The Gemara doesn't say they asked him. The Gemara says they said to him, Matzah or Motzei? What does that mean? Very, very, very profound idea. It means that here's a young guy got married. So somebody with a little bit more experience comes to him and says, listen, buddy, I'm going to give you a tip. In marriage, I'm going to give you a tip. You have two choices of how to view your wife. You could view her as matzah, isha, matzah, tov. I found her, past tense, and this is good. That means that in your own mind, the search is over. Matzah, I found the one that I am meant to fight with through eternity. Right? The search is over. This is my predestined, this is the other half. Matzah, my attitude is I'm not looking around anymore. I'm not thinking about what could have been and what could have been, this one, that one, the other one. Matzah, I found what I was looking for. Game over. Now deal with it. The matzah tov. Motzei is present tense. You're still finding her. That means you're still in the present. So, well, it could have been. I don't know. Marmi movis. Then you're going to have a life worse than death. That's very true. As soon as you come to terms with the fact this is the one, you never think about your kids. No, never. When you have kids give you sometimes kids give you a hard time. I'm sure you guys were no prizes yourself. I'm sure if I meet with your parents, I could hear some good stories. My parents certainly would tell you things that I would want you to hear. So at the end of the day, but you never say, well, I wish this wasn't my kid. This is it. This is what they dealt you. This was the deck. They dealt you these cards, and this is your kid. You don't think, what do you think about your wife? Boy, did I make a mistake. And by the way, every man thinks that in the first year of marriage. Rav Berkowitz said, any man who doesn't admit that, needs to work on telling the truth. Right? Because at some point during the first year, you're like, something happens. Girls are a little more mature about it. But at the end of the day, it's an attitude. Torah is telling you an attitude. That's the first idea over here.
She doesn't think that in the first year?
What's that?
She doesn't think that in the first year?
No, because she knows that you're no prize. Right? Right? The girl married you. The girl, as somebody once said, the difference between men and women, when you get married, a man is thinking, when you're getting married, a man is thinking, she's wonderful and I hope she's always like this. And a wife is thinking, he's got wonderful potential. That's the entire marriage right there. Al regalachas. That's the entire thing. She knows that she's got work to do. My wife said that to me openly. She said when we first met, she said, I like him, but there's a lot of work to do. Right? And then they take on a project. Right? You are the project. She is the projector, and you are the project. Right?
What progress has she got?
Not much. And this is what it looks like after 40 years. It wasn't very good before. I can imagine. So what do you call it? It's a mindset. It's a mindset. Okay, that's the first idea here. The second idea is a much deeper idea. The Ohr Somayach says like this. Take a look. Let's go back to the beginning of this section again. Ki yikach ish isha. Allegorically, metaphorically, who is the isha? When you sing on Leil Shabbos, Eishes Chayil, Mi Yimtza. Who is the Isha that we're singing about? So at a basic level, it's obviously the wife. You come home from shul and you sing Eishes Chayil, and if you don't sing it, you're not going to get a good meal next week. So you sing it with all the enthusiasm. You pay tribute to the wife. She deserves it. You pay tribute for 100%. But the Gemara says the Isha, Eishes Chayil, is referring to the Torah. Why is it called? People think it's the Jewish soldier, the soldierette, right? Because a chayal is nowadays called a Eishes Chayil. Chayil. The word chayil, ches yud lamed, is a numerical value of 48. What does it say in Pirkei Avos? There are 48 ways to acquire the Torah. You've heard of the 48 ways. Eishes Chayil alludes to Torah. There's at a metaphorical level. So the Torah says like this. Ki yikach ish isha. When a man gets involved in Torah study, uba eileha usnei'ah. He hates it. He doesn't enjoy what he's doing. He doesn't enjoy studying Torah. So what's he going to do? Why don't you like learning Torah? He's going to spread a false rumor. Uvisamla alilos divarim vehotzi aleh shem ra. He's going to spread a negative report. He says, you know what? I started learning Torah, and because I'm learning Torah, I don't have a parnasa. And because I don't have a parnasa, I'm miserable, and it's all the Torah's fault. And what's the real truth? I married the Torah, so to speak, and I didn't find strength in the Torah. That's what besulim also means. I didn't find strength. I don't have parnasa. So then the Torah says, "V'lokach avia nara ve'ima." The father of the young lady is the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the mother is Klal Yisrael. That's what the Ohr Chaim says it's alluded to. And it goes on to show that this guy, he hated it. That was just an excuse. That was just an excuse. What was his excuse? His excuse is, I don't enjoy learning Torah. And probably because he's got mixed foreign ideas that he was influenced by. And he makes an excuse that it's affecting my parnasa. But really he's got a resentment towards the Torah life. How does he fix it all up? Torah says that the Torah should be his wife. You can never send it away. That means the way to fix it up, that a person wants to do tshuva for pushing Torah away, is that he's got to immerse himself in Torah. That's what the Ohr Chaim says. If you want to read the Ohr Chaim, he expounds on it a little bit. That's what the Torah is telling you over here. The attitude that people think that because you're learning Torah, that's why you're suffering in life. Do you really think that if you were doing what Hashem wants you to do, therefore you're going to suffer? And if you do Averas, you're not going to suffer? So a person has sometimes to develop. Obviously, it takes time to develop a taste for it, and you have to behave responsibly. Having said all this, again, I've mentioned many times, people think, you've heard the concept of bitachon. What does bitachon mean? Trust in God. So Rabbi Gottlieb, I heard him once say, and he's very correct, don't confuse bitachon with irresponsibility. And they say, well, I have bitachon. You don't have bitachon, you're just behaving irresponsibly. There's a very fine line between your bitachon and how much ishtadlus you have to do. But the end of the day is nothing bad is going to happen from learning Torah. That's nothing bad. You have to know your family needs to eat. So it could be you have to work, and it could be that you don't have as much time to study as you want. But you don't have the right to say, I'm studying, somebody support me. You don't have a right to say, somebody's willing to support you, it's something else. But you don't have the right to say, somebody support me because I want to study Torah. It doesn't work that way. You have to behave responsibly. If somebody is willing to support you to study Torah, then by all means, why not? Somebody's willing to pay your way through school, so then you take it. If somebody's willing to give you money for any reason, you take it. So if a person is willing to support you while you learn Torah, so great. But you don't have the right to go. On the other hand, don't blame Torah for your problems. To the contrary, if people have problems, often it's because not enough Torah, not because too much. They over Torah it. Not because they didn't OD on Torah. They under-D'd on Torah. They didn't over-D. Okay, let's go on. Take a look at here. I want to straighten something out. That also a misconception. Top of page 1054. It starts on the bottom of 1052. Lo yavo pitzua daka uchrus shavcha b'kal Hashem. A man who is injured in such a way that he cannot have children, so he's not allowed to enter the congregation of Hashem. That doesn't mean he's not Jewish. It just means he can't marry a regular Jewish woman. If he's not capable of having children because of a physical injury, so he's not allowed to marry a regular Jewish woman. Then the Torah says, Lo yavo mamzer b'kal Hashem. Now this is the one I want to straighten out. I want to make sure that there are no misconceptions here. A mamzer may not enter the Kal Hashem. Gam dor asiri lo yavo lo b'kal Hashem. What's a mamzer? A mamzer is not what the regular world translates as a bastard. Because in the world at large, a child born out of wedlock is called a bastard. In halacha, a child born out of wedlock, that means a single guy and a single girl, or even a married man and a single girl. There was a single girl involved. She got pregnant and had a child. That child has zero halachic limitations other than a social stigma. If his father was a Kohen, he's a Kohen. He could be the Kohen Gadol one day. A girl who is a single girl, who lives with a man, even if he's a married man, because by Torah law, a married man is allowed to have more than one wife. So there's nothing inherently wrong with that relationship. When is there a mamzer? When do you end up with a problem of a mamzer? When a married woman is involved with somebody who's not her husband. If a married woman, a married man is not allowed to nowadays, because you're not allowed to live with a woman unless you're married. If you do, it doesn't produce a mamzer, because you're marryable. That's the rule. If you are marryable, it's not a mamzer. So if theoretically this man could marry the girl, even though he's married already, by Torah law, theoretically he could marry her. So they're what we're calling, they are marryable. As long as they're marryable, there's no mamzer problem here. A married woman can't marry another man, and therefore they're not marryable. The child becomes a mamzer.
So the title of mamzer only applies if the woman is married?
Only if a woman is married, or if it is some other relationship, for example, let's say a brother and a sister, an incestuous relationship. Yeah. But generally that doesn't happen. Any of the forbidden relationships. What do you call it? If a man dies and his brother marries this sister-in-law, so if they have no children, then what's it called? Yibum, and it's a mitzvah. If they do have children, it's absolutely forbidden. If they have children, then they are mamzerim. But the standard situation is where a married woman has been involved. Now, what is the limitation on this man? What happens if a person's a mamzer? What happens if a person's a mamzer? So a mamzer could marry another woman who's a mamzeris. He's 100% Jewish. He's 100% Jewish. And not only that, the Gemara says if there's an honor to be given, one guy is the Kohen Gadol. but he's an ignoramus. And the mamzer is a Talmud Chacham. The mamzer Talmud Chacham comes first before the Torah Gadol. A mamzer's got all halachic obligations. All he got to put on tefillin. He goes to shul. David's in a minyan. You could count them in a minyan. I mean, when you give him an aliyah, it might get awkward. Yamod, Ruvei ben Shimon mamzer shlishi. You know, I don't know exactly how that works. And but it's unfortunate because there are situations where if a woman did not get a divorce, if a woman did not have a halachic divorce, if a woman was married and she did not have a halachic divorce, she only had a civil divorce, then she goes and marries another man. If the original marriage was a kosher marriage, and then she marries another man after only having a civil divorce, then any subsequent children are mamzerim. One of the benefits nowadays is that many of the original marriages are not valid. So a couple could be living together for 40 years, and the original marriage was not a valid marriage, so they were living in sin. Living in sin is not a good thing, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. Living with a married woman is the end of the world. And therefore, now, in the secular world, that's why I told you, you have to get this clear. A what do you call it? A child born out of wedlock has zero halachic limitations. It doesn't look good on a shidduch resume. I mean, that's, born out of wedlock, otherwise got good mitos. It may not look good on a shidduch resume, but there's zero halachic limitations. Whereas in the secular world, in the Goyish world, a child born out of wedlock they all go to one category called a bastard. So the Torah tells you a mamzer can marry another woman who's a mamzer, but a woman who's a mamzeres, but their children are mamzerim. And they can't get out of mamzerness. It passes on through the generations. The Gemara says that the mamzerim died early in order not to infiltrate into the Jewish people unless they became well known. Unless they were known. There's actually a story in the Gemara that a mamzer came to one of the Talmidim, to one of the Amoraim, and the Amora went and he publicized that this guy's a mamzer. And the mamzer said to him, "You killed me." He said, "To the contrary, I gave you life." Because now that it's what's the idea? Because now that everybody knows you're a mamzer, so you're not going to get mixed in with other people. And therefore the Torah says, but it's not what people think. Number one, when it says, Lo yovo b'mamzer b'kal Hashem, people think he's not Jewish. That's not true. He's 100% Jewish. He's 100%. There's even a discussion whether the father who fathered him in sin yet has fulfilled his mitzvah of pru'ervu, of being fruitful and multiply.
Why not?
There is a,
Why not?
Maybe it's a mitzvah b'avera like we were talking about today. Maybe it's a mitzvah b'avera. So there's a discussion. It's discussed. The point is that he's a full-fledged Jew and he's got all the halachic obligations. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to call it a day today. We did the what do you call? Okay, tomorrow I want to speak about. Tomorrow we're going to speak a little bit about Amalek.